Your brother was a Navy SEAL. That's got to be, that's a major accomplishment. It's probably the hardest thing to be in all the military. So I know your family's proud of him and what you've accomplished. Do you agree with me that one of the worst possible outcomes is for the United States to release somebody from Guantanamo Bay to go back to the fight, to kill an American SEAL or anyone else, that we should really make sure we don't do that unless we absolutely have to?
I certainly think that anyone coming from either Guantanamo Bay or any of our facilities, we should take appropriate steps to make certain they do not place Americans in harm's way.
I couldn't agree with you more. We've got a 30% release rate. And from a SEAL point of view, they're usually the guys in capturing these folks. It's got to be bad for morale for one of the guys that you captured wind up killing your buddy down the road. So I really do believe that the policy we have at Guantanamo Bay needs to be reviewed and reviewed closely for not just all SEALs, but for all who have been fighting. Now, about being at war. Do you believe we're at war?
We are at war,
Okay.
Senator.
Now, I've been a military lawyer for 30-something years. You've been a prosecutor for a very long time. I believe in all the above approach, that military commissions have a place in this war and Article III courts have a place in this war. Do you agree with that?
I do, Senator. I do agree with that, that principle.
Now, under military law, the main objective when you capture an enemy combatant is to gather intelligence. It's not prosecution. Does that make sense to you?
That is certainly one of the important objectives under military law. I would add, however, though, that with respect to the Article III prosecutions that I've been involved in through my office, a primary goal is also to obtain cooperation and thereby valuable intelligence.
Here's what I would suggest to you, ma'am. This is the Army Field Manual. It's over 300 pages. I helped write the Detainee Treatment Act with Senator McCain to make sure that we did not torture people. I believe waterboarding is torture and is illegal. But in this Army Field Manual, which sets the parameters for detaining people and interrogating them, not one time does it suggest that you should read the enemy combatant their Miranda rights. Do you know why that would be?
Well, I certainly think the Army Field Manual has proven to be a very effective way of handling high-target detainees.
All I would suggest, ma'am, that anybody in the military would reject out of hand that it's a good way to gather intelligence by providing the enemy combatant a lawyer. In World War II, even though Miranda didn't exist, and all the wars since then, no one's ever suggested to our military that once you capture an enemy combatant that you give them a lawyer as a better way to gather intelligence versus holding them under the law of war. So here's my recommendation to you, that we've caught several high-value targets in the last year or two. We've read them their Miranda rights within days or hours of capture. You'll never convince me that criminalizing the war is the best way to gather intelligence. I want to talk to you about this. I want to have more flexibility than we have in the current system. If we do not hold some of these people under the law of war for questioning as an enemy combatant, then we're going to lose the ability to gather intelligence. And the only way you can protect this nation is to interrupt the next attack, because the people we're fighting do not mind being killed. Can an American citizen be held as an enemy combatant?
Senator, with respect to an American citizen, I believe there would be a prohibition against holding them, at least against us holding them as an enemy combatant.
Ma'am, that is not true. We have held several American citizens for a multiple period of years as enemy combatants. Hamdi versus Rumsfeld. Before I vote on your nomination, I want you to read Hamdi versus Rumsfeld and Ex parte Curran, where American citizens collaborating with the Nazis landed at Long Island to try to attack the country. They were tried by military commission. Military commission trials are not available to American citizens. They have to go into Article III. But we have under our law in Hamdi versus Rumsfeld the idea there is no bar to this nation holding one of its own citizens as an enemy combatant. What recommendation, I want you to read those two cases and get back with me and see if that changes your mind. What recommendation would you give an American citizen when it comes to joining ISIL or Al-Qaeda? What would you tell them to do?
Senator, with respect to an American citizen or anyone who seeks my opinion on joining ISIL or al-Qaeda, my recommendation would be do not do it, or you will face American justice.
Well, not so much you'll face American justice. You're going to get killed if we can find you.
You may get killed before we can find you.
That's right. But if we find you, we can kill you. Anwar al-Awlaki, you know that guy?
Yes, he is.
Do you think the president acted within his constitutional authority to use a drone against him?
So with respect to Anwar al-Awlaki, I'm familiar with him as he has figured in the radicalization of some of the defendants who've come before the Eastern District of New York, as well as a very active al-Qaeda leader. I'm not familiar with the ways in which the decision was made to use the drone strike against him.
Let me tell you how it was made. There's an executive process where there are executive agencies that evaluate the threat that every individual presents to the country. In the case of an American citizen, there are very strict criteria. But if they meet those criteria, the president can order the use of lethal force. I promise you, in every war we've been in, American citizens, for some reason, have decided to side with the enemy, and they've been viewed as an enemy combatant, not a common criminal. The President of the United States, I think, correctly authorized a drone attack against Anwar al-Awlaki, who is the head of al-Qaeda in Yemen. Would you want to look at that before you give me the answer? Are you comfortable with that process? Would you like to look at that process and get back with me?
Well, Senator, I'm comfortable with the process as you describe it. What I think it illustrates, however, is the need to, as you put so eloquently at the beginning of our discussion, use all of the tools available to combat this war.
And I just want to make sure that as the Attorney General of the United States, you understand one of the tools to combat this war is to use lethal force against an American citizen who our government has determined to be part of the enemy force. The second tool is to hold an American citizen or a non-citizen under the law of war for the purposes of intelligence gathering. Those are two tools in our toolbox that have been used for decades. I want to make sure as Attorney General you recognize those tools are available to us in this war as we go forward. Read these cases and get back with me if you could.
Absolutely, Senator.
Thank you very much. Online gaming. Are you familiar with the decision by the Office of Legal Counsel in 2011 to basically say that the prohibition in the Wire Act was limited to sporting events and contests?
I'm generally familiar with the results.
You agree with that decision?
I haven't read that decision, Senator, so I'm not able to really analyze it for you. Certainly, I think it was one interpretation of the Wire Act that was
Would you agree with
considered in
me
the past.
that one of the best ways for a terrorist organization or criminal enterprise to be able to enrich themselves is to have online gaming that would be very hard to regulate?
I think certainly that what we've seen with respect to those who provide material support and financing to terrorist organizations, they will use any means to finance those organizations.
I'm going to send you some information from law enforcement officers and other people who have been involved in this fight and their concern about where online gaming is going under this interpretation. Thank you very much. From my point of view, you've acquitted yourself very well, but I do appreciate if you would look and be able to answer my questions about enemy combatant status for American citizens, the use of lethal force.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you very, very much.